Eddie Guerrero wasn't just another wrestler. He was a symbol of passion, heart, and resilience. Fans loved him because he was real, a man who fought his demons inside and outside the ring. But Eddie's story is also one of tragedy. A man who climbed to the very top of professional wrestling only to be taken away at just 38 years old. This is the heartbreaking rise and fall of Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat. Before we dive into this story, if you still miss Eddie Guerrero, make sure to hit that like button and let's keep his memory alive. Eddie Guerrero was born on October 9, 1967, in El Paso, Texas. But in many ways, his destiny was written long before he took his first breath. His father, Guerrero, was one of Mexico's most respected wrestlers, a pioneer of lucha libre. Eddie's brothers also wrestled, and the Guerrero name carried weight across the wrestling world. For Eddie, the ring was home. By 6 years old, he was already training. By 9, he was stepping into matches. He wasn't the biggest, standing just 5'8". He wasn't the most muscular. But Eddie had something his father called El Corazón, the heart. That heart would carry him to Mexico, Japan, and eventually the US, where his mix of technical mastery and high-flying athleticism made him a unique performer. In Japan, he sharpened his craft in brutal, fast-paced matches. In Mexico, he carried on the Guerrero family's lucha libre tradition. By the early 90s, Eddie was on the radar as one of the best wrestlers not signed to a major U.S. promotion. Amid the travel and chaos of wrestling, Eddie found love. In 1990, he met Vicky Lynn on a blind date. Vicky later recalled, "He was the hottest guy on the block. I was lucky." The two fell in love quickly and married. They had 2 daughters, Shaul and Sherilyn, and Eddie seemed to have it all: a family, a career, and the Guerrero name to guide him. But Eddie was also driven by an obsession, proving that a man his size could be a top star in an industry dominated by giants. And to do that, he pushed his body beyond its limits. On New Year's Day, 1999, Eddie's life nearly ended. Still drunk from a night of partying, Eddie got behind the wheel. At 130 miles per hour, his car flipped several times. He was ejected from the vehicle, landing in a heap of twisted metal. Miraculously, he survived. But survival came at a cost: a destroyed body. Eddie suffered torn ligaments, a broken pelvis, and severe internal injuries. Doctors prescribed painkillers. Eddie combined them with alcohol, and soon he was caught in a spiral of addiction. Instead of healing, Eddie numbed himself. Instead of slowing down, he pushed harder. By 2000, Eddie had finally reached the world's biggest stage, WWE. With his natural charisma and technical skills, fans immediately gravitated toward him. But behind the curtain, things weren't so smooth. Eddie's drinking became more visible. One night he showed up drunk to a WWE event and was confronted by Jim Ross and Bruce Pritchard. They gave him an ultimatum: go to rehab or lose everything. Eddie tried rehab, but addiction doesn't vanish overnight. In 2001, he was arrested for drunk driving. WWE had no choice but to release him. In just 1 year, Eddie lost his job, his reputation, and his family. Vicky filed for separation, taking their daughters with her. Eddie had hit rock bottom. But Eddie Guerrero was not a man who stayed down. Through independent wrestling shows and deep soul-searching, Eddie clawed his way back. He reunited with Vicky. He focused on sobriety. Slowly, step by step, he rebuilt his life. When Eddie returned to WWE, he came back with fire. "I lie, I cheat, I steal," a catchphrase meant to make him a heel. But instead of hating him, fans embraced him. They saw themselves in Eddie, flawed, funny, sneaky, but with heart. But with that dream came new pressure. As champion, Eddie was expected to carry the company. TV ratings, merchandise sales, pay-per-view buys. When numbers dipped, Eddie blamed himself. He took the weight of WWE's struggles personally. The stress was crushing. He requested to drop the title, admitting the pressure was breaking him. Meanwhile, his body was falling apart. Years of injuries, painkillers, and relentless travel had taken their toll. His shoulder dislocated mid-match. His hips and back screamed with every bump. Yet Eddie never let the fans see it. When his music hit, he became Latino Heat, smiling, dancing, giving 110%. But backstage, the pain and exhaustion were obvious. By 2005, friends noticed something was wrong. Kurt Angle recalled Eddie being pale and short of breath. Others saw him fatigued before matches. Still, Eddie pressed on. He wanted to prove he was dependable. On November 11th, Eddie and Vicky shared a loving moment before he flew out for a WWE show in Minneapolis. 2 days later, on November 13th, Eddie didn't show up for training. His nephew Chavo Guerrero went to his hotel room. When there was no answer, Chavo broke the door. Inside, he found Eddie in the bathroom, toothbrush still in hand. Chavo tried CPR, crying out for his uncle to wake up. But Eddie was gone. The official cause? Heart failure, linked to years of steroid use, addiction, and stress. He was just 38 years old. The wrestling world was shattered. On Raw and SmackDown, tributes poured in. Wrestlers broke character to honor him. Rey Mysterio wept. Vince McMahon stood in silence. Fans chanted his name across arenas worldwide. But Eddie's death also forced the industry to confront its demons. The painkillers, the brutal schedules, the culture of silence. Despite his struggles, Eddie left behind a powerful legacy. He proved that you didn't need to be the biggest to be the best. That passion, charisma, and authenticity could make you a star. Wrestlers like Rey Mysterio, Sasha Banks, and countless others cite Eddie as their inspiration. His signature moves, the Three Amigos, the Frog Splash, are still performed today as tributes. And even now, nearly 2 decades later, the chants still echo, "Eddie, Eddie, Eddie." Eddie Guerrero lived with passion. He fought with heart. He entertained millions. But behind the bright lights, he battled demons that never truly left him.